Let's also welcome on board Dipan Mehta and find out what he's making of the market, and of course a lot of individual stocks which are going to be in focus as well. Dipan, hi, good morning. Let's firstly start off with Tata Motors. What a blowout set of numbers. JLR as well as the CV business growth has been impressive, and then of course the fact that they're cancelling the A-class ordinary shares. They've issued 7 ordinary shares for every 10 held for the DVR shareholders. What would it mean for both the DVR as well as the stock this morning?
Good morning, and thank you for having me on your show. I think the best part of the result was this simplification of the equity structure. I was never in favor of this shares which had lower voting rights. I think it's a very bad practice from minority shareholder point of view. And actually, Tata DVR did turn out to be quite popular, but the fact that the management has now decided to consolidate is indeed quite positive. On the whole, I think this is the thing with Tata Motors. The results are always unpredictable. In terms of all the auto companies, they are amongst the most volatile when it comes to declaring earnings. And we never really have a handle on what's coming in from Tata Motors, purely because JLR's performance keeps fluctuating from quarter to quarter. But largely, I think that most of the positives are priced in. And when I look at the entire auto pack, I feel that there are better stocks within the auto sector to buy rather than Tata Motors at this point of time.
Right, okay, that's the take coming in on Tata Motors and how it's likely to pan out. And if it was not all, Dipan, the L&T numbers, which have of course been above estimates, and the buyback, the first from the company after I think a failed attempt back in 2019.
Yeah, that's right, I think, and that was along expected lines. I think that the March quarter numbers were slightly disappointing, but on the whole, on actual basis, they were decent, but below street estimates. And this time around, the numbers have come phenomenally higher than what street was expecting, and markets have receded very well. I think we have not seen such great times for L&T for many, many decades. I think last time I saw L&T surging and doing as well was back in the 2004, 2007 rally when it was a top performer. But now I think with increased focus on infrastructure and the way the order book position is shaping up for L&T and the way they are picking and choosing their orders, which means that they are focusing more on margins, they're focusing on return on investments, they're making sure that their working capital or their balance sheet doesn't get stretched when they are bidding for orders. So it does suggest that this is a company which is on a roll. First, a disclosure that we and our clients are invested in it. And I think that from these levels also, it could remain a market leader, stock market leader, and outperformer. And the buyback, of course, I think is like the cherry on the cake.
Hi, morning. What's the outlook when it comes to a Bajaj Finance? The stock, of course, has been in focus of late, and given that we're waiting for their Q1 report card today, there is an expectation that the NII growth could lag AUM growth. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, first again, a disclosure that Bajaj Finance is part of our core holdings across the board in all the portfolios and has done exceptionally well. But I think that this is going to be a blowout quarter for Bajaj Finance. Maybe the stock price may not rally because it is going into an earnings season on a high. So from that point of view, you could expect a minor disappointment in the stock price because generally, when a sell-on news kind of syndrome can also come into play. But it will be a solid quarter. And most of the management commentary or analyst questioning will be around the competitive intensity, because I think looking at Bajaj Finance's business model, it has got many new challenges coming into play. Piramal Enterprises for one, Poonawalla FinCorp, then even Geo Finance is going to be the biggest challenge for Bajaj Finance. So let's see how the company is able to grow even in a challenging time. But there is no denying that when I saw the pre-quarter release, I was absolutely left speechless with the kind of numbers that they announced. So that has built the expectation of a very good set of numbers coming through from BFL.
Since you mentioned Piramal, let me probe a little bit on that, Dipan. The buyback proposal, that seems to be on, expected lines. The market was anticipating that. Of course, the debate here is, would they not need the cash? And why would they deploy it for a buyback? Having said that, the market is pretty positive. They're positive for the stock price. They're saying that this buyback is going to be supportive for the valuations and that they have excessive capital, and the value unlocking from Shriram Transport Finance has created a further cushion on the capital base as well. Just wanted to understand, what is it that you're thinking for Piramal Enterprises, and not just Piramal Enterprises, but perhaps the group entities as well, even a Piramal Pharma, if you've, studied that.
So I think unfortunately over the past few years, both the companies have underperformed their peer group, and in a way, this, I mean, again, disclosure via shareholders has disappointed broader shareholders because of various reasons. And Piramal Enterprises, especially, I think it is a company under transformation. They had heavy focus on wholesale financing real estate developers. Their entire strategy, turned out to be pretty difficult and quite damaging for them, because of which they have to do massive provisioning as well. Most of the provisioning, I think, is over and done with. And now we need to see how the retail strategy is playing out. But there's intense competition when it comes to housing loans, which is the main avenue for Piramal Enterprise at this point of time. They want to enter into many other product lines, but it's a difficult business with high level of competitiveness, and I don't know what really Piramal Enterprises, what competitive edge they bring to the table as well. So looking at the whole picture, it's difficult to create a sell kind of a outlook because the stock price is extremely cheap. But on the buy side, we don't know exactly what the numbers will turn out and how the transformation will take place. So we are just kind of stuck in Piramal Enterprises, and so are many other shareholders, in a kind of a wait and watch mode till something positive comes out or something negative, which leads us to sell off the stock.
Okay, what's the outlook then, Dipan? Just curious as to what we could see in Delta Corp, because of course we've seen massive market cap erosion on the back of that GST news, but then numbers haven't been all that bad in Q1. Do you think that perhaps we can, put all of this negative news behind us? How do you expect the stock to trade?
Yeah, numbers were historic. I think the development which has taken place is post quarterly release. And actually, I'm quite keen to understand what is the management's outlook post this 28% levy on all the kind of gambling revenues which they have. And it's going to be very tricky for the company. And when there's so much of uncertainty, you just stay away from the stock. I think we are in the middle of a fantastic bull market, and so many stocks are reaching 52-week high, all-time highs, predominantly in the banking sector, in the auto ancillary sector, real estate, capital goods. There are so many positive investment themes playing out that there's no point trying to do bottom fishing in something like a Delta Corp, where there's a great deal of uncertainty as to how the revenues will shape up when there's an additional burden on the actual gambler.
Okay, those are some of the stocks which are going to be in the focus this morning.